And we are live, and yes, you have to look at my face through this whole episode, and it will be terrible. So, welcome to the Gaming Perspective Podcast. We are live instead of pre-recorded because I wanted to give you guys a special little episode before Google Hangouts goes away forever. So, pour one out for Google Stadia. I mean Hangouts.
Zing! It started already, fellas. It's early.
Google once again killing something that people actually still utilize.
Yeah.
We're all supposed to believe in Stadia, right?
Yes. Believe in Foogle. So welcome to the Gaming Perspective Podcast. There is no episode number for this because this is a one-off show. We're going to be talking about our Game of the Year contenders so far and what we've been enjoying throughout the year. There's been a ton of great games this year, so I'm really interested to see what's really come on everyone's radar. But of course, first we have to get into what we've been playing and the latest news and information that's been spreading across the gaming community. So let's introduce the panel today. So, as always, on my left, Mr. Samuel Tolbert, writer for Windows Central, Android Central, and Mobile Nations.
Hey, yeah, you're gonna stumble through that one for a bit. It's gonna take you a little while, I imagine. Hi, yeah. So, in case you somehow missed the news on Twitter, I am now a freelancer working with Mobile Nations, which means gaming stuff on Android Central, iMore, Windows Central. It's very fun. We're covering everything. So, yeah, it's going really well. Been a big change, been exciting, but I'm still here, ready to talk video games.
And me and Sam now have this bitter rivalry that he never knew about.
We really don't. We really don't, actually.
We really don't.
Yes, we do.
Okay, Jared, settle down. It's always the redhead that gets angry.
Hey, we're a fiery breed, okay?
Introducing the newly crowned editor for the Inner Circle Games Network, Jared.
Ooh. How's it going, everybody? Happy to be here. Actually, it is pretty nice to have that little editor tile. It sounds nice. Yeah. I'm happy to talk about gaming. Let's get going. It's going to be a good night.
For sure. And, of course, I can never forget Mr. Eric Jackson from Basement Radio Arcade Podcast.
Well, you could, but why would you?
He's not wrong.
Technically, you can't. You could.
You really could, yeah.
I have really bad amnesia.
What's going on, everybody? I'm happy to be here. I'm glad we were able to kind of get it together without going back and forth for 3 days. This
was actually, it was really quick getting together, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, scheduling a live show was easier than scheduling
it really was. That's crazy.
Shoot.
Oh man, it's crazy. It's been crazy. So of course, I'm Nicholas Downey. I work for the Inner Circle Games Network. I do whatever needs to be done. So of course, I run this little channel here, and I need to stop putting my elbows on the table because it rocks my webcam. It's been a while since we've done a live episode. I think it's been over a month. So it's kind of great to be back in the saddle again, so to speak. I can't edit out all my terrible mistakes or takes, so this should be interesting.
That's okay. Embrace it.
Embrace the terrible takes.
Do it.
So as we talk every week, we're going to talk about a little bit what we've been playing or watching or wherever the case may be. So we're going to start with Sam. Sam, what have you been playing?
I've mostly been playing Age of Mythology, actually. It's been a lot of fun. I picked it up in the Steam sale, and I was like, you know what? I forgot how much fun this is. Like, I'm playing matches constantly in between writing articles. It'll be like, I'll be playing it. I'll get notice, hey, Sam, cover this. I'm like, okay. Pause it, go right, then get back to it. It's been a lot of fun. I absolutely love it. And Nick, you and I definitely need to be playing that sometime tomorrow or Sunday, since I know you also picked it up during the Steam sale.
Yes, I did.
Yep. So that's been a ton of fun. Beyond that, I've been playing some Total War Warhammer 2. I have a long Tomb Kings campaign going. And then Eric and I have been hitting up the Gears of War games. We finished Ultimate together on Hardcore, and now we have finished the first act of Gears 2. So that's been pretty fun, going back in there. My first time actually replaying Gears 2 in a long time, if I'm being honest. Like it's been several years at this point.
Yeah, I gotta do that at some point. I gotta actually play Gears 2 and 3.
Well, when we
Hit
get
me
to
up,
Gears
man.
3, man, we'll
And finish 4,
right? That's 4 player,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because 3 is 4 player.
Yeah, so we should all jump in there.
Yep.
Let's do it. I need to get through that too. I need to get all those achievements and get back on the story before Gears 5.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I gotta finish Gears 4 before Gears 5 comes out. My co-op partner ditched. I started it with a co-op partner and he ditched, so I've kind of been sitting there halfway through the game like, but I want to get all the co-op achievements in the same run.
Right.
That's awesome. And Age of Mythology is the GOAT. If you don't know what Age of Mythology is, I have no time for you. Jared, what have you been playing, my friend?
Oh boy. Okay, bear with me. My time at Portia, or Portia, whatever you want to say it.
Portia?
I've actually been playing it. It's actually it's addictive. Why did they have to make a game like this? Like it has a little bit of everything it's kind of like Harvest Moon and a tiny bit of, I guess, Minecraft management and just like the way you have to look after your things. It's so simple. You don't have to think too much. It's nice to relax too. So I've been playing a lot of that, and I'm really surprisingly enjoying it. And because of that, I've now got my eye on Dragon Quest Builders 2. That looks phenomenal. It looks like My Time at Portia on steroids, basically. So like, But yeah, that's really all I got right now. Oh, I started The Messenger this morning on the Switch, and that's been a blast to play.
Nice, man. I installed that on my PC today. Interested to dive into that, actually.
I have the limited run version of that on the way at some point, so that's why I haven't
actually nice.
Oh.
Right on. Eric, what have you been playing?
I'm still working on Shadow of War, but I put that on hold for the moment. That and Bloodstained to jump into A Plague's Tale. And I don't think that was a bad decision at all. That game.
How far are you in so far?
I'm chapter 4 right now, but I have not had a chance to play it all week. So I will be getting back to that. If not tonight, then definitely I'll try to get up early in the morning, get some play in with that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been focused on. That and still working on my friend Pedro as well.
Nice.
Yes, I kind of been jumping around a bit.
Those are 2 games that are really high up my list of games I've enjoyed this year.
Definitely.
It's
back in Destiny 2 as well, and continuing to play Gears with Sam as we do this playthrough. So a lot of stuff.
It's really crazy to think, though, Sobo Studios that made A Plague's Tale is also the studio responsible for Disney Rush and Ratatouille as well.
This is their first original game, man. This is
their first non-Disney Pixar related title, and man, did they knock it out of the park. So what have I been playing? I have been in a rut, so to speak. I've been writing a lot, been doing a lot of work that way. My work has been crazy lately. Lost a few people on staff, so I'm working a lot of overtime. So my time has been relegated to not playing necessarily things that I want to knock out my backlog, but more things that are just relaxing to play. So like Jared, I've been diving into My Time at Portia because it's basically Harvest Moon, a spiritual successor to Harvest Moon. It's super relaxing. It's complicated enough where it keeps me thinking, but not so complicated where I'm like, oh my god, what is going on?
It's great. Like, you got dungeon crawling, you got building, you got farming, you got harvesting. I've
been balancing that with Stardew Valley on my Vita, as always. That, once again, another super relaxing game. And then when I actually feel like playing a little bit of something, I've been playing a little bit of NBA 2K still because I like basketball and, Toronto. So I'm feeling that. And just been doing that. And of course, because it's me, I've also been dabbling in Dusk and Doom 1993 because FPS is the God genre. So that's what we've been playing this week. Good variety as always. And shout out to Sam for buying Age of Mythology, because when he messaged me, is like, hey, I bought something on the Steam sale. I'm like, what you buy? He's like, I bought Age of Mythology. And I just had like the Praz moment, like when your little brother comes home and it's like, I got late at a party last night. It's just
Oh
like,
my God.
My man. That was the level of pride I had, because Age of Mythology, like when you talk about old school real-time strategy games, I feel like that game gets left out of the conversation way too much. It was really, really good for its time. And I actually think I got mine out of a cereal box, believe it or not. I can't remember. But it was a great game. So we're going to dive into a little bit about what's been going on in the game industry. It's been kind of a slow news week, if I'm being honest. Like, come on, Gears 5 removing cigarette smoking is a news article going around right now. So that's how slow the news has been this week.
Yeah, no kidding.
So we're going to start off with something that I thought was really cool, and is that Cuphead is getting its own animated series. So Studio MDHR, after announcing on Twitter that they were going to have to delay the Delicious Last Course DLC to 2020, they decided to make a big announcement that Cuphead will be getting its own original. I'm not going to say Netflix original, because Netflix original implies that Netflix created the idea, but it's a Netflix exclusive animated series adaptation of the show that's going to bring a whole new perspective to the 1930s cartoon styled world. So we're going to see the world of Cuphead in a whole new way. And as someone who loves Cuphead, loved the game, beat the game, and also my kids love the game. I'm not saying my kids could beat a level in the game, but my kids enjoy watching me play the game. They love the art style and everything else. This cartoon is going to be hugely up their alley. What about you guys? What do you guys think about a Cuphead animated series?
It's awesome. Like, how could you go wrong with making a deal with like that? I think it's honestly a really good time for a type. Not, I wouldn't say a resurgence, but for a nice new, fresh perspective of old school original art style animation brought back into a modern time on Netflix to such a large viewer base, especially with it being Cuphead. Like, these guys put their houses on the line, did everything they could to make sure that this studio got up and running and this game got going, and it's just paid off so well for them. And I'm so happy for these guys. And not just that, but think of the potential future sales that'll happen because of this extra exposure. You've seen Cuphead on Netflix. So many people who don't know what Cuphead is now going to see Cuphead, watch it, either enjoy it or not. But if they do enjoy it, they'll probably end up, a lot of people will enjoy it. They're going to probably end up wanting to try the original game, to where it all came from, where it all stemmed from. So it's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Eric, Sam, any additional?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I just co-signed that.
Yep. Same.
More people seeing what Cuphead is, more people knowing what Cuphead is, brings a smile to my face. They risked a lot in the development of that game, and it paid off in a big way.
Oh yeah,
and I'm glad.
And it's like brilliant concept, brilliant IP. People are like attracted to it. There's something there, something that can be built upon, and it's a very creative IP. You know, and paying homage to, classic animation and kind of bringing that to the forefront and bringing that to like a new generation. Classic stuff never dies. Like right now, like Sarah's favorite thing to watch, like beyond some of the Disney stuff, like she doesn't watch any like the Lion Guard anymore. She doesn't watch any of the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse stuff. She was big on Vampirina, but her favorite stuff now, Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, because because that stuff doesn't go out of style.
Nope.
It's so good. It's like you just can't beat it.
And we sit there and we crack up, and like I love every moment of it, like watching that stuff with her, And I tell her, I said, Daddy was your age watching this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she gives me that look like, Really? You were my age at one point?
Yeah.
That happened.
Man, it's crazy. Like things like Looney Tunes and stuff, like how that's transcended generations. Like I'm at the age where my dad grew up on Looney Tunes.
Mhm.
And then I grew up on Looney Tunes, and now my kids are growing up on Looney Tunes. And it's insane how some things just transcend generations. It's like watching like things like Star Wars. Like when you think that, Star Wars was a movie in the 70s, right? And it's still just as big of a thing now. It also helps there's new movies and everything else, but they're terrible, so we don't talk about them. But it's really cool to see Cuphead getting the shine that it's gotten, because when Cuphead first came out, there was like no merchandise, there was no like huge advertising for it. And when I was playing the game, I was like, man, you could market the hell out of this.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely, you start seeing shirts, you start seeing blankets, you start seeing like little things. Then like you start seeing the Funko Pops, and then all of a sudden it just hit. And all like me and my wife probably have every Funko Pop for the Cuphead collection.
Yeah,
or at least a good chunk of them anyway.
It's just
The art style is like the 30s art style is timeless in my opinion. And there's something about hand-drawn games that is just so beautiful.
Mhm.
This one game is almost an exception though, because it's almost like a perfect hand-drawn game. It's so smooth and so well done. When it came out, I'm sure a lot of us played it when it first came out. It was just like, it was perfect right off the bat. It was impressive.
Like the most impressive part about Cuphead, if we're being honest, is how smooth and how tons of people got angry with Cuphead because of its difficulty, but there were very few people that I ever saw quit the game because of glitches or bad experiences or anything like that. That game basically front to back was
solid.
Spot on. I also have to give credit when we're talking about and Sam will correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe Moon Studios deserves a shout out when we talk about hand drawn art aesthetics in regards to Ori, because
oh yeah, absolutely. That stuff is all hand drawn, and
it's crazy.
We need that Ori art book.
Ori art book and Ori Steelbook, man, lock it in. Lock both of those in.
Travesty that we haven't gotten a steelbook for Cuphead or Ori.
Yeah, but
it's a
don't
travesty.
rule one out. Don't rule one out for Will of the Wisp, though. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't rule one out for Will of the Wisp.
Yeah, I can see that.
It would allow you. I would actually really like to see an animated movie of like Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That'd be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Man, if they do a collector's edition with Ori and Will of the Wisps, they have like a statue, an art book, and a steel book. Sold.
Absolutely. And there is a physical copy of Cuphead coming out for Switch in October, I think.
Yeah, I think it's October. Yeah.
I don't know if it's how special if it's gonna be anything special, just a regular copy, but either way, that's pretty much the only physical copy that would exist, right?
Yeah, because the Xbox copy doesn't really count. There was a physical Xbox copy, but it was still just a game code in a case.
Right.
If I remember correctly.
I still maintain, like, if Hellblade, when they went physical and put a retail release out there, if they would have done a steelbook or a collector's edition of some sort, I would have grabbed it. I would have double dipped it or triple dipped at this point.
Yeah, no, I double dipped because I bought it on PS4 and Xbox One, and I would have triple dipped if there was a steelbook. I just couldn't justify it if there wasn't a steelbook, if it was just regular. But
and see that's the same thing with me, because I have it on PS4, and then of course I won the Xbox copy. South 5.
Oh my god!
What?
Nothing.
I legitimately made someone angry on an Inside Xbox show by getting a play of the game with Hanzo. I think I can die happy with that, making someone angry.
Understandable.
So we're going to move right along. We're going to talk about Marvel's Avengers, which is my favorite topic. So Crystal Dynamics' upcoming game, Marvel's Avengers, which of course we saw at E3 2019, while there were some mixed feelings about how the game looked and some confusion on the focus of the game, it feels a little too early to judge too harshly, especially without seeing any official gameplay. However, per website Gematsu, we will be getting a gameplay premiere during a panel at San Diego Comic-Con later next week. However, there's a twist. People in attendance of San Diego Comic-Con that attend the Marvel's game panel will get a first look at the gameplay. However, Square Enix has no plans at this time to release the footage online or to live stream the panel.
What? Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Really? Oh. I hope you heard that facepalm because it was a hard one.
So I'm going to bounce to Sam for this question.
That's a good idea.
Because I know Sam and Eric are basically tied for the two biggest Marvel guys on this panel, I'm going to say.
I'd give it to Eric, honestly.
Okay. So then I will phrase the question to Eric. Do you think after the very confusing few weeks of post reveal where people are like, is this a single player game? Is this a multiplayer game? How does this work? After all that confusion, do you think it's a smart idea by Square Enix to not show off the gameplay to the general public outside of a closed panel?
That's probably the dumbest thing you can do right now. Honestly. I mean, that's crazy. That's stupid. Like, that's the main thing people were saying coming out of E3. It's like, besides the fact that people didn't like the character models and they were kind of like, and then the whole voice panel thing was throwing people off too. The main thing people wanted to know was they wanted to see more gameplay, right?
Yep.
So double down on that. That's smart. Or lack of that.
Man, I don't know who to blame for this, but I feel like it's Square Enix because if there's ever a developer / publisher that knows how to shoot themselves in the foot, it's Square Enix.
You're saying that Square Enix just shot themselves in the foot? Are you you're referencing the infamous meme? Oh, Lord.
It's an odd choice. Like, let's face it. When you have when Marvel's Avengers dropped, the first thing that came out was, why do the Avengers look funny? And of course, the Reddit meme of, this looks like a porn parody cast. It was not great. Like, people that were expecting the actor to look like the Avengers from the movies, those people expectations were way too high. But I also think that a little bit more would have gone a long way. Thor literally looked like 90% of the guys I went to school with. Long hair, beard, kind of generic looking. I don't know. It was odd. Not showing off a lot of gameplay after teasing this since 2017, I believe, was a choice. And saying it releases less than a year after reveal and not showing any gameplay is a choice. And then taking the next step of, we're going to reveal it at Comic-Con, but no one gets to see it outside of the panel. Now, with this being said, we've all seen the leaked footage from E3 of someone showing off the demo, which looked bad. We're going to get leaked Comic-Con footage because no matter how tight they keep security, someone is going to get a phone in. Mm-hmm. So why not just release it?
I'm thinking
maybe.
Go ahead, Jared.
I was going to say, honestly, maybe they're on that skeptical themselves, and maybe they're that unsure of the quality of gameplay that they're presenting.
I'm going to co-sign with Jared. I think when they showed it at E3, I don't think they were prepared for the feedback that they got. I think they thought they were a shoo-in because they had the Avengers, and people have been waiting to see this, and they thought people were going to be like, you have the true Avengers was like the voice cast that they brought together. And the fact that they highlighted that, it was like, did they think like gamers were going to be like, hey, we know all those guys, high fives. You know? Like
Troy Baker's in a game. Okay.
All right. They're in.
All right. So it's
nothing against those guys, hey, but it's like they're the only people available. And the thing is like they're not doing like a voice of some how do I say this? Help me out, Sam. They're not even changing. They're not
voicing a character that's been created out of nothing. They're voicing a well-documented character from franchises of people.
And not even that. when Troy Baker did the Joker, he did such an homage to Mark Hamill that Mark Hamill is the ipso facto Joker, right?
Oh yeah, not even
so good.
If he's
So
not gonna
good.
do it, Troy did a pretty damn serviceable job filling in, right? That's amazing. You can go, wow, Troy really took that and ran with it. But in this case, it's like, Troy is Bruce Banner. And it's like, okay, what is that really? What is that?
That's the issue.
Anybody in the office could have probably done that voice.
Dude, I get what you're going for. It took me a moment, but I'll help you out. I get what you're going for because it's like, it's this weird situation of it's not them filling in for someone else, and it's not a even remotely not well-known character. It's some of the biggest icons in media right now.
Mhm.
Some of the biggest, period. And so those are big shoes to fill, don't get me wrong. But when I saw that, I didn't hear Tony Stark and Captain America talking.
Mhm.
I heard Troy Baker and Nolan North talking.
Right.
I saw,
Yes.
if anything, I was like, Nate, what are you doing out of retirement here?
Right.
Nathan, what are you doing? Shouldn't you be off with Chloe and Sully? Come on, what's going on here? Like, that's what came across to me. And I'm not even saying that's their fault per se, but at the same time, that was my issue. Here's the thing about the gameplay. I'm going to dive in on the gameplay thing. I don't get why they're not showing it because I've seen the gameplay. It looks great. I saw the gameplay behind closed doors. It looks fantastic. People's worries, people saying, I'm not sure they'll ever be able to make a Dream Avengers game. Guys, they made it. The gameplay looks awesome. You can throw Thor's hammer and pin a guy to a wall, pick a dude up, throw him into another dude, and then call the hammer back. It's like God of War on steroids. Iron Man's flying around, dodging lasers. Hulk is smashing stuff. Like, it looks super cool.
Mhm.
There were some frame rate issues. And, I don't know. I don't get why they're not showing it. Even CD Projekt Red is going to be showing the gameplay that they showed us journalists behind closed doors. They're going to be showing it at Gamescom. They've said, it's like a 2-month exclusive. We showed it to journalists to let them write their previews, and then at Gamescom, we're going to let you see the same thing we showed them. So I don't get why they're not doing the same thing. I really, really don't understand it because the voice acting issue aside, I think what they have looks fantastic.
Then it doesn't make any sense. Then why hide it?
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me,
I
guys.
wonder if it's a lack of confidence from Crystal Dynamics. Now, hear me out on this. When they showed off Shadow the Tomb Raider, it was Shadow is the Tomb Raider is the most recent entry. Am I correct, sir?
Correct. Yeah.
They were met with people going, "What's wrong with Laura's hair? Why does this look so funny? Why does the water look weird? Why does this look weird? Why does this look like this?" I'm starting to wonder if Crystal Dynamics is kind of shook by that because we all know Shadow of the Tomb Raider turned out to be a very serviceable and good game for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And visually was a very great game. But I have to wonder if constant negative fan feedback has drawn them to want to keep this behind closed doors until it's basically perfect.
That was something I heard. Sorry, go ahead, Eric. Please.
No, I was just going to say that's kind of what I was getting into is following up what Jared said. Is I think they're a big gun shy now because I think they expected, hey, everyone loves Marvel right now, everyone loves the Avengers, and when they showed it, and people have been so anticipating seeing this game that it's almost like they thought it was a shoe-in, and getting that kind of feedback was like, oh man, now what?
It kind of comes across that way. I'll be honest, I wouldn't be surprised to see this game get delayed to fall 2020 and launch alongside the next consoles instead of being a summer 2020 game because they might want to polish the bejesus out of it.
I wonder about the brainwave of releasing a game that you're tagging as a games as a service game 2 quarters before the launch of next generation consoles.
It's not as big as you think because stuff is going to be back compat. Stuff will carry over.
Still,
it's not that side of the transition isn't going to be as problematic as people seem to think.
Still, we don't we all know everything's going to be back compat, but we don't know what hiccups could come along with that as well, though. Especially on the PlayStation side of things, because we have seen nothing of their back compat. And I'm not one to bank on things I haven't seen. Like Xbox's backwards compatibility, I've seen, I've played it, I've used it.
Fair enough. I hear you.
PlayStation's backwards compatibility, it'll probably be amazing. but we don't know what the extent of it will be. Like for games like Rainbow Six Siege, Overwatch, and everything else, are they gonna have to launch new games on the next console? Or are we just gonna carry over the servers? Are people on Xbox One, PS4 gonna play with people on PS5 and Scarlet? Like, there's a lot of there's a
good question.
There's a lot of questions that come from that generational gap. I think that's just one of the many things that is confusing about the Marvel's Avengers game. And I definitely agree with Sam. I think it'll be delayed. I imagine maybe be a launch game for next generation consoles. That'd probably be a really smart move.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to go back in and work on the character models and stuff too.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm not yay or nay with it, so to speak. I'm interested. I think that Crystal Dynamics has the talent to pull it off. It's just whether or not they pull it off or not. So we'll just have to wait and see. So our next topic is one that strikes right through the heart of Eric personally. Psychonauts 2 has been delayed into 2020. So this was announced. This has been announced a couple of times, apparently, as I was informed. It was mentioned briefly during an interview with Tim Schafer. It's been officially announced via the Psychonauts 2 Fig page, which is where they basically kickstarted Psychonauts 2 originally. So the actual statement from Double Fine is that we're now targeting next year for release. We know it's always disappointing when you have to wait a bit longer, but we also know that you're an amazing, supportive bunch who, just like us, want the game to be as good as possible. So we're hopeful you'll understand. Pretty stereotypical response to a delay.
Waited this long, so hey, what's a bit longer?
What's a little bit longer? And
waited this long, man. It's been 15 years.
Yeah, 2005 is when Psychonauts first came out.
Oh yeah, it's a little bit longer. No big
Do this
deal.
standing on our heads.
And if I'm being brutally honest, I'm probably thinking what happened is Double Fine got acquired by Microsoft. They got that Microsoft money now.
Yeah,
and they're probably either expanding the scale of the game or they're polishing the ever bejesus out of it.
It's the same thing that happened with Wasteland 3. They're adding a ton of stuff that wasn't going to be in the game before they were acquired. Like, they were like, hey, we know this was crowdfunded, but now Microsoft is supporting it. So you can actually have voice acting now. You can actually have co-op in the near future, like shortly after launch, like all these features that people wanted, but they just didn't have the money to do. It's probably the same type of thing.
Totally agree.
It's probably the same type of thing. It was phrased to me by a developer friend of mine. It's like when you're building a video game, it's like building a house. This is your budget. This is your vision for your house.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, an example using Double Fine, this was the budget. This was the house they were going to build. And now, all of a sudden, their budget is a lot bigger. So now they kind of want, maybe we can make the kitchen a little bigger. Living room could be a little bigger. We could have a fourth bedroom. That'd be awesome. And that's kind of along the vibes of what I'm getting from this. And, like, honestly, in terms of, and I know Eric will co-sign this as well, Double Fine really doesn't put out unpolished or bad games. Typically speaking, they put out great, hilarious, polished games. And honestly, I can't wait for Psychonauts 2 to come out so that we can get Brutal Legends 2. Tim Schafer.
Yes. Dude, heck yeah. Brutal Legend 2, I am all about that. Yeah. I am all on board.
Yeah.
With now, what is it, Jablinski Games? That's Jack Black's YouTube channel.
Can you imagine the spin for Brutal Legends 2? Jack Black plays a YouTube Let's Player. I don't even need to say more. You can just write the story from there. Like that right there. You could meme the hell out of that game and make it amazing. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like, I don't know, Brutal Legends was such an odd game. There were so many different designs and everything that went into it. On Eric's recommendation, I picked up Psychonauts. I've never played it before. So I'm going to actually dive into that this weekend.
Awesome. Nice.
Because I've played a ton of Double Fine games, but for some reason, Psychonauts just was never on my radar. So I'm correcting that. But yeah.
Good job, man.
Like, delay the game. Take the time you need. Anyone who knows me, follows me, anything else, I'm a huge proprietor of if developers need to take more time to polish the game, go for it. I would rather you have my money either way. If I'm interested in your game, if you delay it, I'll still buy it. I'm not like, oh, you took 6 months longer to make the game? Fuck you. I'm not spending my money. That's not how I work. If you want to take more time to polish the game, cool. That means you care about the person buying your game. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's more important. If you're saying, hey, we don't need to release this right now. It's a mess. We need to fix it.
That's called listening to your fans.
Because I would much rather you delay your game for 6 months to a year rather than release a game like Anthem or Fallout 76 where fans are going, what is this for 6 months? Fallout 76 has done the corrective measures and has added a ton of new content, is correcting and using fan feedback to fix a lot of stuff. But this was stuff that people gave them feedback on pre-launch. Mm-hmm. That maybe they should have delayed the game 6 months to take into consideration. Mm-hmm. And I think if a developer's smart enough to realize we can push this back, I'm cool with it. I'll be there for Psychonauts 2 after I finish the first one if it's as good as Eric says it is, which Eric has never steered me wrong yet, so.
I'll try not to. Continue. A lot of fun, though. Fun game. It's just a fun, lighthearted game.
Someone told me it's kind of like if Sly Cooper with more adult humor. Yeah. Was how someone pitched it to me. And I love Sly Cooper, and God damn it, let Sucker Punch make another one.
Yeah, and it's got that Double Fine humor, like, all over it, So, yeah. I recommend it to anybody. Especially if you like platformers and stuff like that,
Absolutely. I'm going to pass the next topic over to Sam because I didn't get a chance to read about this a lot. This is about Supermassive Games' Man of Medan and its multiplayer aspects and co-op aspects. I'm going to pass this over to Sam because I didn't get a chance to read up on this, but the guys wanted to talk about it. So, Sam, Supermassive Games adding in multiplayer to their game?
Oh, okay. So, two pieces of news here. First, if you don't know what it is, Man of Medan is basically a spiritual sequel to Until Dawn. It's Until Dawn 2 in all but name, is what it is, because we're not getting Until Dawn 2 for whatever reason, but they've gone multi-platform instead of PlayStation exclusive, so we're getting this. And it's intended as the first game in an anthology. And it's going to be Twilight Zone-esque because they're going to have the same narrator introducing each game and giving you like a psychological evaluation at the beginning of the game to determine what kind of decisions you're trying to make and stuff like that. It's very Twilight Zone, Koris Barloff-esque type stuff. I love it. I love that kind of thing. It's one of the reasons I love Until Dawn. It's one of my favorite PlayStation 4 games. And they revealed that they're aiming for 8 different games in this anthology. Now, they've said that game number 2, let me just pull up the article right here, is actually well into production, almost done. The third one is in design phase. And in the fourth one, they've got a concept of the gameplay mechanics they want to do. The fifth one, they're about to do design. And then they have the horror story written down for 6, 7, and 8. So they got this thing planned out. Okay, they've got this nailed down, what they're trying to do here. And they've said that they're going to be aiming for 2 a year after the Dark Pictures. So we'll see how that goes. It's $30. It's not a full price game. It's not full 60. And then they went and flipped it on its head and said, hey, what if you could play it alone, but then you can also play it with a friend? And so you'll control a character, but you can also have a friend controlling a different character at the same time. So it adds a different tension to the decisions. And because now, instead of just you making decisions, your friend is also making decisions, it completely changes the way the game can be played. And there's new story possibilities, new things that can happen. And then there's also something called a movie night, which I don't really understand, but the gist of it is you can have 5 people over watching the same game at the same time.
That's interesting.
Look, I'm going to say this right now. Like, Telltale Games, unfortunately, rest in peace, failed because they could not innovate on the design that they had created. But Supermassive Games, they're on some next level stuff with their ideas for how to market their games, how to do their games. They understand what their core audience wants, but they're also experimenting with things that we've never seen in games before. And I think it's really, really bold. And they like, I have Until Dawn downloaded. I got through PS Plus like God knows how long ago. But since I have PS Plus for a month, I'm actually going to sit down and play it because Sam won't ever shut up about it.
Dude, you know what? I need to as well.
Excuse. Oh, come on. Okay. All right, listen, guys. I've done this before. I have shepherded people through this game. We all got to play it together. All right?
Okay.
It is one of those types of games. We will make it happen sometime. Hit me up.
Definitely.
I just really like how ambitious they're being with this. They're like, we're not making one game. We're making a whole anthology, and there's going to be 8 of these, 10 of these. We want to... It's so cool because they're making games that people like. We've got great horror games. Like Resident Evil 7 was a great game. Outlast 2 was a little bit of a disappointment comparatively to the original Outlast. But like in the grand scheme of things, we don't have a lot of horror or quote unquote thriller based games.
And not good quality ones either, honestly.
Bingo. Because let's face it, the indie market a few years ago was flooded with FPS horror games after the success of Amnesia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
flooded is like drowned. It was sent to the bottom of the Mariana Trench.
And like, yes, we got some really great games out of that. Layers of Fear is an example of a very great indie horror game. Paratopic is an amazing and confusing game that you need to play about 4 times, and then it really sinks in. And just, there's tons of great indie horror games and everything else, but I really love how Supermassive is straddling that indie creativity with AAA game design. And I really
feels like... Sorry, go ahead, dude.
I really hope that people will go ahead and support them, especially since they're trying to be multi-plat now. I really hope everyone shows up to support them for this.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, it feels like they know what, regardless of what happened with them and Sony and why we're not getting an Until Dawn 2, I don't know. It feels like they know they have that audience and they're leveraging that to take these narrative type games to the next level.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
No question. Man and Maden, I'm curious. When you play each episode, I don't know if they announced it or not, or if any of you guys know, it does. When let's say it's like what's that one game? I can't remember. Anyways, when you play the game and you beat it and you carry on to the next one, does your progress carry over, and does that matter? So, like, let's say Mass Effect, your choices in the first game carry over, and doesn't matter in the second game. If that isn't happening, I think that'd be a really cool feature to add into the anthology.
Okay, so I'm going to answer those separately. Yes. The first part is that no, these are separate stories. That's why I use the Twilight Zone comparison, because it's like different episodes. To the second part, will things carry over in between? I don't know. They've made a very big deal of the fact that it's the same announcer, that the same like director who's introducing you to each game, talking with you, the player, before you begin. I feel like they've got one last trick up their sleeve, if that makes sense. I feel like there's something that's going to carry over between them. I don't know that for a fact, though.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, because it's not like what you said, the announcer being the same for each episode is kind of like as if, well, it was a TV series, right? It's probably the authentic feel they're going for.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be bite-sized. They said it'll be like 5 to 6 hours long, which is perfect for these kind of games, in my opinion.
5 to 6 hours, $30 price tag. I think they're going to find a lot of success in this area, honestly.
Yeah, I think so too.
So we're going to move on.
I can't wait to see more from them.
Yeah. Basically, they're creative as hell. I'm glad that they're making more games in the vein that they want to. They had a couple of bummer VR titles, unfortunately, and it's great to see them kind of coming in stride again. Hopefully, very interested to see how this game plays out. So we're going to move on to our last news-based topic, which is the ever convoluted Final Fantasy VII remake. As if the messaging on this game can get any more confusing. So it's basically common public knowledge that this game was going to be released on PlayStation 4 as a timed exclusive. Square Enix announced this as a timed exclusive all the way back in, 2015? Was when it was revealed at E3?
A long time ago.
2015, I think. Or was it 20? No, it wasn't 2014.
It was 2015 because that's the E3 of Dreams, which was Shenmue, Final Fantasy VII, The Last Guardian. People think I'm kidding, but that's literally the name for it. And Sam will back me up on this. If you go to on Reset Era and type in E3 of Dreams, that's E3 2015. Because Shenmue 3, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and The Last Guardian showed up on the PlayStation stage. So that's the E3 of Dreams for some people. After seeing screenshots that I shared with you guys of Shenmue 3, I'm really starting to think the dream is
so bad. How can you be excited for that?
I can't believe that there's people excited for Shenmue 3 in a world where Yakuza exists. Okay,
right? Like, oh my lord! You can look at the comparison between the two. You can't keep up with that. Just
I could literally rant for hours about how terrible that Shenmue 1 and 2 collection port was. I could scream for hours as someone who pre-ordered that on the basis of my friends telling me these were must-play essential games.
Oh, man. Memes for days.
But moving on. So Final Fantasy VII Remake. We all knew it was going to be PS4 first and then other platforms later. So Xbox Germany posted a video about the game coming to Xbox on March 3rd, 2020, which of course is the release date for Final Fantasy VII Remake Episode 1. Now, that video was then deleted. Social media manager apologized, said, look, we didn't mean to post that. We're sorry. Which makes me scratch my head going, why did you have a whole video made for a game that's apparently not coming to your platform? But moving on from that, Square Enix actually commented on this and gave a quote to Video Games Chronicles saying, as previously announced, Final Fantasy VII Remake will be released for the PlayStation 4 on March 3rd, 2020. We have no plans for other platforms. Which, in a normal situation, I go, okay, cool, whatever. But this is after prior in 2016, them saying that it was a timed exclusive. And as pointed out by, I'm not going to call him an insider because I know he hates that term, but Nibelian, if you have Twitter, you know who Nibelian is, said that it's really interesting to note that Square Enix announced a press release last month the highly anticipated game will debut first on PS4 on March 3rd, 2020. Twitter user Nibelian notes that Final Fantasy Remake E3 trailer did include the Play It First on PlayStation 4 line that was featured in earlier trailers. Is this...
There you have it.
So this becomes the thing of, is Square Enix literally the worst company in terms of communicating their
Quite
PR?
possibly.
Or is there something in their exclusivity deal that does not allow them to talk about the game coming to other platforms at this time?
I think both.
Well,
honestly,
it's more the latter. Possibly more the latter.
Well, I also have to think with all the Final Fantasy stuff coming to Xbox recently, the ports and the back compat stuff, it makes sense for it to eventually come to Xbox. So I could see it being like a 1-year timed exclusive. Being as a permanent exclusive, I have a hard time seeing, just because, well, if you can sell 2 to 3 million more copies on the other console, why the hell not?
Well, we live in a world where almost all the Final Fantasy games, with the exception of some of the more older retro ones, are available on Nintendo Switch, PC, Xbox. Final Fantasy 15 released on all platforms. I really have a hard time believing that Square Enix isn't going to release this on other platforms.
When there's caginess involved, it usually means another platform will be in store. It just means that for whatever reason right now, they can't talk about it. They won't commit to talking about it.
I'm buying it first on PS4 because I was really impressed with the E3 demonstration. As someone who's never played a Final Fantasy game, it really impressed me. It made me go, I really want to play that. I'm not going to wait for an Xbox version. I'm not going to wait for it to come to Game Pass. Because it's not. I'm going to buy it on PS4. But I kind of get Square Enix saying that it's only coming to PS4. We have no other plans for other platforms. Because if you have an exclusivity deal, it kind of contradicts the exclusivity deal. If you just tell people on other platforms, it'll come later. That kind of defeats the whole purpose of Sony giving them money for an exclusivity deal. If you go, it's exclusive for 6 months, then you can buy it everywhere else. You're going to lose sales on your specific platform. But I will offer a counter argument to this, and I can already see Sam standing in the back going, wrong. Is Final Fantasy VII Remake, we know it went through developmental issues. It got a quote-unquote reboot in 2017 where they had to start from the ground up again. Now, whether Sony put forward more money to help fund development of this game to get it out the door, and that changed whether it comes to other platforms, that could be a possibility.
Maybe. I think it's more to do with the fact that this was always going to be a timed exclusive, and they're just not going to talk about it until that's up. I think it's pretty simple.
And to be brutally honest, at the end of the day, I don't think the platform exclusivity is the biggest issue that faces Final Fantasy VII. It's the fact that I'm going to be like 34 years old when Episode 2 comes out. And for context, because I look old as hell, I'm only 25.
Man, yeah, okay, I'm gonna be like almost 40 by the time it comes out. Then,
yeah, exactly.
I'm 28.
Like, I'm getting gray hair. Like, I didn't have gray hairs when Final Fantasy VII Remake was announced. I now have gray hairs. But that's also called poor genetics. But we'll move on from that. Final Fantasy VII Remake, it's going to be great. Let's face it. It looks awesome. What we saw at E3 is really impressive. What platforms it comes to, whatever. If you own a PS4, buy it on PS4. If you're going to wait for a PC version or an Xbox version, wait. You may be waiting for a long time. You may not be. Wherever the case may be. Just once again, in the second time in the same episode of this podcast, Square Enix cannot get their messaging straight.
Yep.
I'm seeing a pattern. So, we're going to go into our discussion topic for tonight, which is a pretty great topic that I did not totally steal from any other podcasts. So we're technically 7 months into the year, but we're basically halfway through what I would call the game year. So there's been a ton of great games released and a ton of not so great games. Anthem released over the past 7 months. And we've seen remakes that have been more amazing than the originals. We've seen new IPs absolutely blow people's minds. So the first part of this discussion topic is we're going to talk about what our Game of the Year contenders are as it sits right now. And then the second part of this discussion topic is what's coming later this year that could dethrone our pick. And I didn't tell the guys that we were going to do the dethrone your pick part because I like to keep them on their toes. And I'm judging by their silence, they secretly hate me for this, but it's fun.
Not really. It actually, I was prepared for that. Haha. Does someone else want to go first, though?
And this is why me and Sam are bitter rivals. So, as it stands right now, and you guys can bring up honorable mentions because I know there's been a ton of great games. And the one thing I like to brag about this panel is I have a panel full of guys that play a ton of games. So what games have stood out to you this year? We're going to start with Eric because I think I'm going to get the most interesting answer out of the man who spent a month and a half on Sekiro.
Right now, man.
It's like definitely not Sekiro.
So Eric,
Yes.
what is your game of the year contender so far?
Excuse me. My game of the year contender so far would be Resident Evil 2 Remake. And if A Plague's Tale keeps going the way it's going, that could move ahead. But I'm still fairly early. But I'm feeling that there's something very special about this game.
Man, when I played through A Plague's Tale, because bless up for Asobo Studios sending Tick a review code. This game wasn't on my radar. Didn't pay attention to it at all. I think Jared sent me a trailer and I went, yeah, looks cool.
I've had my eye on that game ever since they revealed it at E3 about 2 years ago. I've been so excited to play this game. And you go ahead.
And Sam messaged me and was like, we need someone to review A Plague's Tale. I'm like, Jared's been talking to me a lot about the game. I'll give it a shot. And when I finished it, I messaged Sam. I was like, I finally understand what people felt at the end of The Last of Us. I get it now. I've never been one for the overly story-based games, like overly cinematically featured, a little less on the gameplay mechanics, more on the character development. I've never been a huge fan of those games, but that game blew me away. And the fact that Eric listed Resident Evil 2 Remake in there is just perfection. Absolutely. Now, I've got to ask, correct me if I'm wrong, you were one of the few people on the panel that actually played the original. What made Resident Evil 2 Remake stand out so much to you?
Because they didn't change the DNA of it. They just updated it and made it better. But changed it enough to where somebody like some old head like me that played it that long ago didn't really you recognize things, but it was still like a fresh experience. That's a hard trick to pull off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
And they nailed it, man. I came out of that game with no complaints.
It's a great game. It's a fantastic game.
It really is. It's a really good game.
And it's so good to replay, isn't there? It's so good to try out the different paths and the different combos of, do I do Claire A, then Leon B, or then Leon A, and then Claire B? It's really cool. Yeah, I really love it.
It has completely, I look at it now, you can't just come with a resolution remaster and think that's going to be enough.
For an old game, no. I think for newer games, that's fine. But yeah, for an old game, if you're going to do a, quote, remake, unquote, it needs to be of this caliber.
Right.
I think between Capcom and Blue Point Games, I don't think anyone can get away with using the term remake without absolutely building it from the ground up again.
Yeah, no kidding. The bar is set high, extremely high.
After Shadow of the Colossus, I did not think a studio could top that.
As a remake,
but Resident Evil 2 Remake, in terms of remake, I never played Resident Evil 2. I played the original Resident Evil, and then the next Resident Evil I played was Resident Evil 4, because I think everybody played Resident Evil 4 at this point, because it's on every goddamn platform possible. But when I played through the remake, I forgot how great late 90s survival horror was. The whole stress of, it takes 10 bullets to kill this monster, I only have 6. And I need to get through that door. Fuck. The amount of times this video is going to be demonetized into oblivion anyway. The amount of times that I was running from Mr. X in a circle going fuck. It's just or the amount of time I remember messaging Eric a screenshot, and it was me in the safe room and Mr. X at the only door out, and I'm like, what do I do?
Plenty times I jumped down the ladder later, dude. I'm out.
I've never I live in an apartment. I live in the middle floor, so I have an upstairs neighbor and I have a downstairs neighbor. I played Resident Evil 2 when Resident Evil 2 remake came out. I was still working midnights off and on, and I'm not gonna lie. When I was up late playing at like 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd hear my neighbor's footsteps upstairs, and it literally gave me PTSD. Not even kidding. I'd be laying in bed. I'd hear my neighbor's footsteps. And I'd just be laying there. I'd be like, no. Like the game, like there's one thing to remake a game and make the game look better. And in Resident Evil 2 Remake, they made it perform better. They made it play better. They made it smoother. But the sound design of that game is, I feel like no one ever brings that up. It was so good. Like the sound of a bullet hitting an undead corpse was amazing. Hearing Mr. X's footsteps throughout the building as you're trying to complete puzzles is the most stressful thing. And honestly, it's such a one-of-a-kind experience. And the fact that it's like one of those old school games where you can beat the whole game in 2 hours, but you can do 20 playthroughs and never have the same playthrough is awesome.
Yeah, and it still keeps that feeling of dread with like inventory management, and it's like, oh man, do I drop this? Do I hold on to this? Am I gonna make it back to the item box, stuff like that? They kept like that old trope, which a lot of games will pull stuff like that out to make it more accessible. I'm throwing up air quotes right now, guys, to make it more accessible to today's gamer. They're like, no, that's one of the core things that made this game unique at the time, and also I don't know if you guys did go back and look at old footage of Resident Evil 2 from when it launched. Like you look at Mr. X then and Mr. X now. Mr. X then kind of looks like Mr. Rogers. Made him so much more menacing. Like,
yeah, I would say that's not scary.
I knew he was there somewhere. I knew he was coming, and the minute he pushed the helicopter up and he's looking around the flames at you, like, yo, what up?
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it was the same thing. Like I knew he was coming, and it still doesn't take the edge off.
I hate you guys because I'd never played Resident Evil 2. I never knew anything about Resident Evil 2. I knew about Nemesis and Resident Evil 3, but I never knew about Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. Right. So when he pushed that helicopter out of the way, my immediate reaction was I dropped my controller and screamed like a prepubescent child.
Oh man, I shrieked and I just turned my character around. I was like, nope. Down the hallway, I was like, I'm not dealing with this. Nope. And I heard his footsteps following me. I was like, no. I kept looking. So I looked behind me, and I just like saw him coming behind me so freaking quickly because he doesn't like walk slow. He fast walks. Okay, he like power walks. He's on a workout 24/7. This guy,
man's got a Fitbit permanently next to his wrist. He is counting those steps.
He is stressful. Makes me lose weight.
It's so funny because in all my playthrough of Resident Evil 2 Remake, there's an achievement for shooting Mr. X's hat off. And like 55% of people got it. I never even took a shot at the dude. I saw the dude went, nope.
I never one shot. I'm like, I ain't gonna kill that bastard. He's too big.
I'm sitting there with Leon. I've got like 6 pistol bullets, and this dude comes out and moves a freaking helicopter. I'm like,
oh, bro, I'm out. No, I'm dropping everything. I'm just gonna lay down on the ground and just stomp me out. Just do it. I'm like, no, I'm never gonna try.
Yeah, and then like those later points in the game where they're sending him at you with 2 lickers in the hallway.
Oh, man.
Let's not even talk about that. There was a point where literally I had him and 2 lickers in the hallway, and my only escape method was throwing 2 hand grenades at my feet and running like hell. Like there was a point in the game where I had no pistol ammo, no shotgun ammo, and I had 2 hand grenades. I was dealing with 2 lickers and Mr. X in a hallway to get where I needed to go. I was like, I did my best Usain Bolt impersonation, if I'm being honest. I had legs.
I've been, and it's one of my favorite games still, of all time. And even playing again, I just can't say it enough. It's like they did such a brilliant job of making it fresh to where it's like I recognize areas, but I mean the police station is completely different than or new from what they initially did, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the flow of it is still initially the same. But even with that, it's like the puzzles are different. The way you go through it is a little bit different. You still know about the liquors. You still know about, the different zombies and things like that. But none of it changes the angst you feel going through the hallways.
Right.
It's actually great that you brought that point up too, Eric, is that the puzzles changed. Because one of my friends, a good friend of mine, he played all the Resident Evils front to back like 20 times each. Favorite franchise. And he went into the Resident Evil 2 remake. Like, he bought it on midnight launch, and I was at work that night. And he texted me at 3 a.m. He's like, bro, they changed the puzzle solutions. I don't know what to do. I need an adult. And I think there was so much care that went into that game. And like typically, like when we talk game of the year, I typically don't include remasters and remakes because those games were good enough to remaster or remake. But Resident Evil 2 remake feels like a brand new game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And absolutely deserves a mention. I'm glad Eric brought it up. So we're going to hop down to Jared, who I will smack in the face if he says Anthem.
You know what? That's funny because actually at the very start of this, or when you posted the topic list, I was like, I shouldn't mention Anthem just to screw with Nick because I know he would just go off the rails about it. But no, it's not Anthem. Sorry, that falls pretty low on my list, unfortunately. I don't know one of us is gonna say it, and I gotta. This game has been on my mind since I've played it, and it is the number one most standout game I've played this year, and it might be this whole year, except for the minor exception for maybe Control and Gears 5 competing for the top spot, maybe, but that's pushing it because I have a lot of respect for this game and for this studio for what they did, and it's A Plague's Tale. I can't get enough of that game for what they did and the way they told that story and how well they did everything, how it all tied in, and just how refreshing it was for just a good story-driven game, but that wasn't too long or too short. It was just right, and it's just, it was so good. So A Plague's Tale is easily my game of the year so far this year. And it might be for the whole year.
Nice.
Man, it's crazy how that flew under. It's great about that game because literally the only person I knew that was hyped for that game was Jared. Like legitimately excited for that game. He posted every trailer, talked about it, and everything else. And the amount of people I've seen that had no interest in this game that picked it up off of reviewers going, "Whoa, this is really good."
Yeah.
And people picking it up and then going, whoa, this is really good. It's such a unique setting, such a unique it's really interesting. The combination of like combat, stealth, puzzle solving, and how it all blends together, how the game scales all your different skills, your crafting, how it lets you explore different parts of the map for upgrades. But it's still very linear. It's a really unique combination. Like, I hate drawing comparisons to Last of Us because that is considered like a god tier game.
I think it's a very apt comparison.
It is, honestly.
It is.
In terms of emotional connection to characters, voice acting. The voice acting is phenomenal. Shout out to Micah in the chat who pointed out French studio, French voice actors in a French setting. It just works.
Yep. Oh yeah, hands down.
It's not one of those things. It's not one of those things where you got Troy Baker using a French accent. It feels natural.
Well, you could tell they're actual like French actors speaking English, but their natural language is French, so they have that natural French accent to it, and it gives that true, authentic feel. So like Micah said, it just fits. Everything fits, and it just works so well. And that was, I think, a very key thing in how the game was so successful. And not just that, but when you play the game, it almost like it's a very artistic game too. when you play it, and if you pay attention, a lot of the scenery, all the background from what you're playing to where you're exploring, the camera angles and everything is very artistic. A lot of it can be almost paintings, if you will, if you were to take a screenshot and to paint it, sort of thing, or not even just to paint it, but just to take the screenshot and to look at it, you'd be like, wow, this could actually be almost like a French painting. Everything just tied in so well for that game, and that's why it's just so damn impressive.
Mm-hmm. All it needs is tricks.
It's I don't know. It's weird. It's one of the few games where I have an itch to go back and play it, and it's not for achievement. It's not for a different ending. I just want to experience it again. Can't justify it with my backlog, but it's
kidding.
just it's so good. And
but you know, Nick, you can actually live that excitement though through Eric as well, because he's just getting to chapter 4, and all the three of us know what happens in chapter 4 and afterwards. So it's going to be very interesting to see his experience, and I'm really excited for him because I like it seeing people experience this game for the first time, or just really good high quality games in general, and seeing their excitement going through it. And it gets me excited and it gets me happy because I know what they're feeling and what they're going through, and how excited and how much fun they're having, how much enjoyment they're getting through that game. And it's just, yeah, we could just sit there and be like, I know actually it's going to have a damn good time, and I can't wait to talk to him when he finishes the game, because we could just go on and on all day about it.
It's one of those things, like when you see people playing games you enjoy, it just brings that warm feeling to yourself. And like, it was the same thing when Sam got back from E3. He's like, I need a really good unwind game. I'm like, you need a Plague's Tale. And Sam picked up a Plague's Tale, and people that know me, that follow me, I put this, when I did this review, this is, I think, my highest reviewed game this year. I think.
Yes, it is.
It is. I think I gave it like a 9.2, which, if anyone knows me, I am a stickler for when it comes to reviews. And this game just absolutely blew me away. And as someone who's not typically a narrative-driven player of video games, I was very impressed with this game. And seeing people discover it for the first time, it's great. It's such a great feeling. It's like all the people that got excited when they saw Rand boot up Bloodborne on Twitter this week.
Yeah.
Like, yes, understand. I get that feeling. It's the same thing. Whenever someone tags me in a thing, they're like, hey, Nicholas, I'm playing Baldur's Gate 2 for the first time. I'm like, this is a win. And it's just a great feeling. So
it is. Like, I had that feeling when I was playing it, because of course I played it day one sort of thing, right? And you got your review code a few days later. I was like, yes, Nick's finally playing it. I'm so excited. I want to talk to him about it when he's done playing it. And then I saw Sam started playing. He started talking about, like, yes, finally another one of us is playing it. And now Eric is playing it. All four of us will finally have played it. And I'm so excited. I've been waiting for so long because I've been talking about it for so so much. I've been bugging the shit out of you guys about it.
I see so many people like just talking so highly of it, right?
Yeah.
And, so I couldn't resist. And I mean, and conversely, I picked it up last week. It's on sale this week. I'm not even mad about it. Sometimes that happens, and I'm like, damn it, I'm not even mad. I feel it's so far completely worth the price of entry, and I'm early in the game, and I'm feeling like that already.
Yeah, 16 chapters, bud.
Yeah,
so,
give perspective too. I think Asobo Studios is a really small studio too. They're not huge by any stretch of the imagination.
They have a little over 100 devs, but not everyone worked on this. It was only like 40 people.
Like 40 people made this game. It's so amazing what developers are doing with the limited manpower. Like when you think about games like Hellblade and Cuphead, and now A Plague's Tale, it's like 10 people made this, 20 people made this, and it's just like, It's so crazy the quality you're getting out of a handful of people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you guys know what? I didn't mention this to you, and I forgot to. Because another game that I saw a lot of people like really high on, and I went to try it, and I was kind of like, maybe it's just where my head is right now. I'm not feeling it. Was Outer Wilds.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about that. I haven't played it yet. I do want to.
Yeah, so
it's on my list because I got it, but I just haven't had a chance yet.
Yeah, I might go back to it, but like I said, maybe it was just that thing where, because for a moment there, I was trying to figure out where my head needed to be with a certain
sure
game, so maybe I wasn't being completely fair to it at that point.
Right.
But I spent about an hour and a half in there. And I was kind of like, I don't know.
A gentleman I follow on Twitter, Dom, he does a lot of sales analysis and everything else. He brought up a great point about Outer Wilds, is that a lot of people are enamored with the game, but it does suffer from its own amount of issues from controls, and it's a game that's constantly at odds with itself. And there's people, it's one of those games where people either love it and they're like, this is the best game ever, or they don't like it. Mm-hmm. It's not one of those games where you love it, or there's people that like it, and then there's people that are like, and then there's people hate it. There's just some games people either love them or they hate them. There's no middle ground. I feel like Outer Wilds is one of those games. So before we get into my Game of the Year pick so far, we're going to boop right over to Sam here.
Okay.
So, Sam, Control hasn't come out yet. So, what's your Game of the Year so far?
Okay. So, my Game of the Year, although I want to be clear, Plague Tale is a very close runner-up. Like, it is right behind my Game of the Year pick. Plague Tale is phenomenal. I back up everything you guys have said about it. But my Game of the Year is currently Metro Exodus. I love that game. I absolutely love it to death. It was everything I needed it to be, and then so much more. It's one of the most graphically stunning games I've ever seen. I mean, you guys have seen the different clips and screenshots I shared. It's mind-bogglingly gorgeous. The weapon crafting, the intimate story, but this more open ranges of gameplay, the vehicle elements that were thrown in. It's phenomenal. I absolutely love Metro Exodus, and it infuriates me that I'm the only one who's beaten it, because it means that my conversation is stinted as a result.
It's in my to play.
Yeah, I know.
I'll put this in. I put 10 hours into Metro Exodus, and the only reason I stopped playing wasn't because it was a good game. It was an amazing game. The only reason I stopped playing was because my review schedule for the site got a little hectic and crazy, and I haven't had a chance to dive back in. But the leaps and bounds that 4A Games has made since Metro Last Light to Metro Exodus has been astronomical. And if there was a studio that I ever thought that could have an absolutely gangbusters next generation game, it would be 4A Games. The amount they have grown since Metro 2033 to this is huge. Their storytelling, the gameplay, the I'm not one to rave on about graphics and everything else, but when I talk about the best looking games on console, I'm going to mention God of War, I'm going to mention Metro Exodus, and that's all I'm going to mention off the top of my head, because those two games, the amount of detail and everything else in those games is insane.
I throw one more in there.
What's that?
You're gonna hate me for this, but it's the new Battlefront 2.
Well, okay, that's fine.
Honestly, visually, it looks so damn good, movie quality good. It really does. But I also totally agree with the other two games. But out of everything else, I would only fit Battlefront 2 in there. Nothing else. That's it. Those three only.
So Samsung Metro Exodus.
Sorry, I was just going to say, in terms of games that could displace it, the only one right now is I would say Gears 5. if some of the stuff I've heard about that game pans out, and if Rod and his team really do deliver on some of the crazy stuff that I've heard they want to do in there, then that Gears 5 could be something special for sure.
Absolutely. I'm like, to give you an idea for Gears 5, I'm not a Gears fan, and I'm pretty interested in Gears 5. So, but then again, I just like a bunch of video games. I'm kind of a loser like that. So for my Game of the Year picks, we're getting a little weird. It's Baldur's Gate 3. I'm totally kidding, even though that CGI trailer was better than 90% of the CGI trailers we saw at E3. Really and truly, though, the game that's left its mark on me, I'm going to split this into indie and AAA because everyone knows I'm a bit of an indie weirdo guy. My friend Pedro deserves an absolute nod because it's weird, it's Devolver Digital, it's weird, it's really zany, but the gameplay feels insane. Like, it felt so good. The split shooting, the slow motion, the acrobatics, the platforming, just everything from that game front to back was amazing. And I lucked out really well. I bought it day one, and a lot of people had issues on PC day one. But I crashed twice on the first level, and then I had smooth performance to the rest of the game. So absolutely one of the best games I have played this year. But not to echo a already said game, but Resident Evil 2 Remake takes the crown for me. Honestly, it was a game where, like, I'm very lackadaisical with my games. There's very few games where I'll play them front to back without playing something else in between. But my life when I picked up Resident Evil 2 Remake was wake up, go to work, come home, eat food, spend time with my kids, stay up late playing that game, go to bed, wash, rinse, repeat till I beat the game. It was such an amazing experience. I want to go back and I want to get on PlayStation because I actually want to go for the Platinum Trophy. And really give that game another solid 5 or 6 playthroughs. And I'm not one that likes to replay through games unless it's Baldur's Gate 2. So if you haven't played Resident Evil 2 yet, the Resident Evil 2 remake, put into consideration that the only 2 games I want to replay on a regular basis are Baldur's Gate 2 and Resident Evil 2 remake. That gives you an idea of the caliber that I put this game on. In terms of games that could knock that off the pedestal, and this is going to be a weird one, and people can clown me for this, but Death Stranding has my full attention right now.
I don't blame you, honestly.
And the reason it has my full attention is because it's Kojima. I'm a Metal Gear Solid fan to my core. Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain was terrible. But there was a lot of things that came into play with that game that I don't 100% believe were Konami's fault and don't 100% believe were Kojima's fault. So I really want to see what Kojima can bring with this game, and I'm really interested on the whole premise of the game. And I think it's going to be 2 things with this game. It's either going to be a convoluted garbage mess, or it's going to be one of the most groundbreaking things we've ever seen. And
yeah, there's usually no in between with Kojima.
There is no in between with Kojima because literally
he's going to give us some nonsense. The question is whether that nonsense pans out.
And I'm here. I'm here for it because, sorry, I'm kind of away from my mic. Yeah, I'm co-signing with Nick. Like, there's certain things like you'll completely stand out for. And I'm kind of like that with Kojima, only for the fact that you never know what you're going to get. And a lot of times we can peg a lot of things because a lot of things are predictable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so even with the little bit that he's shown, and I know it's sort of like, I don't know what's going on there, but okay. And it's like, it looks beautiful. And the only thing with Kojima is he's like that dude that he's showing you one thing with the left hand, but you don't know what the right hand's doing. And I'm down for that because, like I said, so much is predictable. I'm down for somebody to kind of like crossover dribble us.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, we get so many games where you kind of get the direction of where it's going.
Mhm.
And I hate doing this, but Days Gone was what I call a paint by numbers game. Oh, this is going to happen. Oh, this is going to happen. It was
Mhm.
painfully predictable AAA open world fodder. There were some little glimpses of brilliance, which I think they could really bang out in a sequel.
Mhm.
Right.
But
But
for
the
the time
first-
being,
But for the
yeah,
time being, it was average beyond all reason.
not to mention the first 10 hours of that game, dude, you and I have talked about this. The first 10 hours didn't need to exist.
The first 10 hours of that game made me like the only reason I got past the first 10 hours was Sam cheerleading me going, it gets better. And like
I'm sorry,
there's
which game?
Days Gone.
Oh, Days Gone. Okay. I haven't even started that one yet. It's a little bit, but not
Days
started.
Gone.
Okay.
And like I said, the setup for a sequel is going to be amazing. I think they've got a really great proving ground for what they can do, and there's a lot of things that make Days Gone great for what it is. Sony Ben's first console game since PlayStation 2 and things like that. But there were some things that were so painfully generic that was predictable. But with Kojima and Death Stranding, you lose that predictability. It's like you don't know, like. There's a throat baby, for God's sakes. Like, what's going on in this game?
Yeah, man. It's
Like, and I love that. And like, people are like, "Oh, it's weird, stupid." No, let Kojima do Kojima. I'm here for it. I am here for someone who wants to burst. Like, if you want to give me a AAA experience, but give me some weird spin-off story for it, cool. Same reason I'm hyped for Arcane, or not Arcane, Tango Games Works. New project because it's so different and people don't seem to understand that. People, like, as a general consensus among gaming community, we see something different and we're automatically like, oh, that's weird. Oh, what? No. And then we'll sit there and bitch about getting the same generic reshoveled garbage all the time.
Yeah.
But we support the creative stuff. Like Arcane Leon's Deathloop looks astronomically more interesting than 90% of the stuff I saw at E3.
Yeah, I think what it is as well is this probably burning? Is this blank check with all these actors in this budget probably burning a hole in Sony's pocket? Yes. Am I okay with that if it means Kojima gets to spoon and feed me AAA nonsense? Also, yes. That's the thing. Like, it ain't my dime burning here. So,
Yeah,
if you're gonna go all out, then you may as well go all out. Go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got to throw my 2 cents in because you all know how much I don't like Kojima.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not a fan, but this is the one game where I'm really, really interested because I like the twisted sci-fi thriller kind of stories, and I know his reputation for being a bit of a storyteller. And from what I can see in this game, and just for me in general, it's actually a very appealing story. There's not much to make sense of at all, but but I'm still very interested, and I don't understand why I'm so interested because I'm not a fan. Like, I don't like his stuff, but why am I so interested? I need this game.
Look, I'm going to throw this out there. Like, I give Kojima a lot of slack. I'm not going to say I'm a Kojima stan because I do get annoyed of his pictures of like him taking photos of his little miniature of himself in his office while working on a trailer is like the most self-absorbed thing I've ever seen.
I don't mean to cut you off, Nick. I just want to clarify that. Like, I'm a stand for the game parts of it. Like, I don't follow it. Like, I'm not always in Kojima's Twitter feed. Like, it's not like that.
Yeah, but the thing is like the games that like I was a hardcore FPS multiplayer kind of guy. I grew up on PC gaming, on Quake and things like that, and that was my jam. Call of Duty, Halo, Quake, all that kind of stuff. And the 2 games that made me step outside of that comfort zone was Hitman and Metal Gear Solid. So I forever owe a debt to those titles for making me step out of my comfort zone and discovering a whole branch of games that I never would have been interested in. So I always give Kojima a benefit of a doubt, even though Death Stranding has been one hell of an interesting cycle.
No kidding.
And honestly, if you go back to all our podcasts, who would have thought that Death Stranding would come out before The Last of Us Part 2 or Ghost of Tsushima? Hands up. Anyone? Nobody.
Nope.
Nobody.
Nope.
It's crazy. It's been a crazy ride. The rest of 2019 is going to be a crazy ride. There's tons of great games. There's so many games that we could have talked about, that we should have talked about, that we can't talk about. It's just the past 2 years has been such an amazing time for games, and I just think it's only going to get better.
You know what? We didn't touch on this earlier, but with things being delayed and moving into 2020, and then the things that we know they're coming in 2020 sounds like it's going to be a very strong closeout to the generations.
I think it will end the generation with its best year ever for all three platforms. Is what it looks like.
Absolutely, it's going to be great. Like, I don't understand why people are pissing and moaning on social media all the time about nothing to play.
They do moan,
Yep.
They
groan and moan and they don't play games.
Yeah.
Bingo.
So
we're gonna field if there's any questions in the chat, throw them out there. I've got some announcements to wrap up. So starting off this week, because we did this live episode, it's been great. Shout out to everyone that came out. So this week, starting a regular rotation, Gaming Perspective Podcast will be a bi-weekly podcast to give the great guys here, because trying to arrange recording and everything else can be a challenge, especially with my work schedule and balancing family and all of us having our own jobs, family, and everything else. So the podcast will be bi-weekly. But to fill that void, I will be making content with a few other people as well. So as a branch out of the Gaming Perspective podcast, we also be doing a PlayStation Perspective and an Xbox Perspective podcast that will be pre-recorded shows. They might be live shows occasionally. I haven't quite worked out that aspect of it so far. The Xbox Perspective will be going live every Wednesday. Typically in the morning. It's going to be a pre-recorded show. That'll feature me and predominantly Sam, of course. But there will also be rotation. Sometimes I'll sub in Eric. Sometimes I'll sub in Jared. Sometimes I might have a guest. And the PlayStation Perspective podcast will go live every Friday. And that will be me and maybe a guest occasionally talking about the latest PlayStation news, information, PS5, all the great stuff. PlayStation related, and then Gaming Perspective will be us just talking games, what we've been playing, the news, everything else every other week. So it's going to be a huge amount of content coming to this channel. Really, really enjoy making content with these guys, and it's been a journey the past year and a bit, and looking to expand and kind of grow more and try to reach a wider audience and just basically give back and share information, because I find too many podcasts or videos dwell too much on either one specific topic or one specific side of information, and it needs to expand past that. Like, my goal with Xbox Perspective, PlayStation Perspective, isn't what will this PlayStation move mean for Xbox, or what will this Xbox move mean for PlayStation? It's just talking about it as a fan, as someone who legitimately enjoys the platform you're playing on, as someone who enjoys playing on PlayStation, enjoys playing on Xbox, enjoys playing on PC. I think it's something I can deliver and be very genuine with, and I want to continue bringing that content forward, going forward, so to speak. So I'm really excited to bring that to you guys. There'll be more on Twitter in the coming weeks. There'll be some really cool guests coming for PlayStation Perspective. Got some ideas for Xbox Perspective. As always, if you guys want to leave feedback or anything else, I read the comments. I'm terrible at replying to comments. I look at comments while I'm at work. I'm like, I'll reply that. I forget. I'm terrible. I'm a horrible human being. I am sorry. But I see your feedback, and we try to take it into account. Shout out to all the people that watch us pre-record, came out, showed us support live. And it's just been a really, really great journey so far. I'm really looking forward to finishing 2019 strong and heading into 2020 strong. And of course, if you enjoy our content, you can support us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/gaming perspective. Because starting off with PlayStation and Xbox perspective, I have officially got a subscription to Podbean, which I paid for out of my own pocket for a year. So there's a guarantee that you guys will have to deal with my content in an MP3 format for the next year, at least, or until I lose the passion for doing this. So you guys will be stuck with all of us on MP3 format. It was a struggle learning the Podbean setup and how to get things uploaded there. Shout out to Cal, the big boss at the Inner Circle, for giving me some tips and tricks and teaching me a little bit more about how that side of things works. So it's been great. Appreciate you guys coming out for the live episode. We're going to do outros. So Sam, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Tolbert. That's Tolbert. Come hit me up. I'm happy to talk to you. You can find everything I write on Android Central, Windows Central, and iMore.
Right on. And absolutely support Sam with his endeavors. There was a couple of people that hit me up in DMs and were like, "Oh, are you and Sam not friends anymore because of the shift?" I'm going to just clear the air right now because I'm drunk as balls at this point. Me and Sam have worked together for a year. It was an amazing year, and it's been amazing as a friend and someone who's worked with him and who has taught me an absolute ton. It's been amazing to see him take the next step, and I really hope people continue to support him the same way they've supported me and the same way they supported us over the past year. And there is no animosity or anything else. And any jabs I take at Sam are no different than any jabs that I would have taken at him before. And that's the key. That's the key point, is that if I'm not taking the piss out of you, I probably don't respect you in the first place.
And it's not Canadian of you, so it's just not natural.
That's I don't know. It's the Irish heritage. I just gotta take the piss out of people I like.
See, there you go. There you go. Irish heritage is Canadian heritage.
So really, continue checking out Sam's work. I'll keep sharing Sam's work. He's doing great things. It's really been great to watch it, and I'm really proud as a friend and someone who has written with him for a long time. Well, a year and a bit. I wouldn't be half the writer I am. 18 months. I went from being someone who wrote one article every couple of months to being someone who writes on average 2 to 3 articles a day and constantly is following industry information and everything else. I was never like that until I met Sam, and he ignited a passion in me for content that I haven't had in a very long time, and I'll always be grateful for that. And that's enough of the fucking mushy shit. So we're going to slide right along to Jared here.
Well, you can find me over at tickgamesnetwork.com and on Twitter at ragevirus_X.
And go follow Jared. He's got a great Anthem digital art book giveaway right now, which I'll be sharing on. I already shared on my Twitter. We'll also be sharing on the Gaming Perspective Twitter as well. Check it out. Digital art book for Anthem. Anthem may not be a great game, but the art is amazing.
Oh, man, this book is beautiful.
Absolutely amazing. I actually eyed it up, but I'm broke, so
what can you do? When Jared was showing us the book in DM, and I thought he had a game code, but I was like, oh, it's okay.
Sorry, Cam. I'm not that rich.
Eric's saying you're going.
Oh, man.
Eric's like, I won't even give you $350 for that.
Man, he wouldn't even accept a free code. He'd be like, nah, I'll wait another 6 months before something actually comes out.
But no, that's a great giveaway, to do for your followers and stuff, man. Good stuff.
Yeah,
good stuff.
It's really cool. We're gonna be doing some stuff. We're gonna be doing some stuff on Gaming Perspective later, next couple of months.
Well, so people know, the book in Canadian dollars is valued over $100, so it's not like it's a cheap free code.
Yeah. Like I said, man, it's a great giveaway. Jared's been a great contributor to this podcast. It's been great to work with him over the past year. Eric, your
Yes,
outro,
sir.
sir.
Oh, yeah. You can find me on Twitter, EC Jackson with an X, and at the same username on Xbox and PlayStation, but not on Switch, which is a long, drawn-out number. That, yeah, you know the drill on that. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Make sure you follow all these guys. These guys have been great. These guys literally were strangers on me to Twitter up to like a year and a half ago, and now I talk to these guys almost every day, and it's been a journey, and it's really been great to create content with these guys, continue making content with these guys, and yeah, I'm just feeling really nostalgic right now. I'm gonna go play Nintendo GameCube or something to cure this nostalgia mood I'm in. Apparently, I'm gonna go play Mario Sunshine, I think.
My man, that's how we roll.
So it's been great doing this live. We might do this again every so often. We'll have to do it a different way instead of Google Hangouts. Pour one out for Google Hangouts. So I appreciate all you guys. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, which you probably already do if you found this channel, you can follow me on Twitter at Undead3XVI. You can find all the work I do at tickgamesnetwork.com. I got some great opinion pieces and guides coming out over the next few days that I've been working very hard on, and I look forward to hearing back from you guys. Of course, leave feedback of stuff you want to see more, and be excited for the first official episode of the the Xbox perspective and PlayStation perspective next week on this channel. So don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest updates and information. Thank you guys for tuning in. It was great talking with you guys live again, and we hope to see you guys next time when we go live or when we upload an episode in 2 weeks from now. So have yourselves a great Friday night and relax, enjoy the weekend, and play some games.